Oliver Cromwell's house. This is the only surviving house that was lived in by Cromwell other than Hampton Court. But who was he, and why is he so important to British history? You have probably heard something about him.
He was one of the greatest military leaders we have ever had. Without him, Parliament never would have won the Civil War.
He ordered the king to be beheaded. He was a traitor.
He was a godly man who ruled this country justly. He brought stability back after the war so that we could live in tolerance and peace.
Oliver Cromwell was born in nearby Huntingdon on April 25th, 1599. He was born into what had been one of the wealthiest families in Huntingdonshire, and although he was a gentleman, he was not a rich one. His father died in 1617, and Oliver had to leave Sidney Sussex College at Cambridge to look after the estate, his widowed mother, and then his wife Elizabeth, and ultimately their 9 children. Financially, it was a struggle, but Oliver's fortunes changed when he was left leases on various properties in Ely by his uncle. These included the one on this house.
The family moved here in 1636. Master Cromwell became very important in Ely. His inheritance brought with it the responsibility of collecting all the money, wheat and straw owed to the dean and chapter of the cathedral. We provided hospitality to all the important gentlemen of the town and from the cathedral. And when Master Cromwell became an MP, his status rose even higher.
Everything changed for Oliver Cromwell when he was in his early 40s. King Charles I began to make changes to the church in England that were unacceptable to men like Oliver. The king and his bishops introduced rituals into the churches, railed off the altars so that people could not reach them, and put ministers between the worshippers and God. These measures seemed very Roman Catholic to many people and were unacceptable to men like Cromwell. During his 20s or 30s, Cromwell had experienced a religious conversion.
Oh, I lived in and loved darkness and hated the light. I was a chief of sinners.
And for the remainder of his life, he was a zealous Protestant. He believed that God had chosen him for a purpose which would at some point be revealed to him. The changes that the king started to make to the church were against Cromwell's beliefs, and he was convinced that God's purpose for him was to prevent them. He criticised the king in Parliament, his passionate and often angry speeches driven by his religious zeal. When war broke out between king and Parliament in 1642, Oliver Cromwell was one of the first MPs to take up arms and fight.
After only 3 years of war, Colonel Cromwell was second in command of the National Army of Parliament. He was a great soldier, a military genius. The whole country came to know of him because of his victories against the king.
At the end of the Civil War, the defeated king was executed in London in 1649. Parliament invited Cromwell to govern the country in his place. Eventually, he became Lord Protector and ruled England until his death in 1658, a meteoric rise from his life as a country gentleman in this house. During his life, Cromwell's actions brought both praise and condemnation. He is the most written about ruler that this country has ever had, a source of fascination and loathing. Cromwell is a historical figure that people either love or hate. We hope that at the end of your visit today, you will have decided for yourself what sort of man he was. Notice the drop in level and turn we had to make to enter the kitchen. The building has grown organically over some 800 years, and we're now in the oldest part of the house, probably built in the very early 1200s. Did you notice the drop in level? one of two church parishes around Ely Cathedral. Farther over to the right was once a massive barn for storing the crops given by local farmers as tithes and taxes to the parish's cathedral. And this house was the office and dwelling for the priest in charge of collecting those taxes.
You can get those at the chicken.